Hello, ineffable being. I hope you're having an amazing, wonderful day. I want to share with you first that you are a genius, you are special, you mean the world, and you are loved. Today's topic is brain and heart coherence. I'm sure you've heard about this. I'm sure you know a little bit about this. If you're on this channel, then you've at least heard it once or twice. So, with all topics, with all things in my life, I take what I need and I apply. So I don't need a full textbook. I only need to know enough to incorporate into my life and not more. So where are my thoughts, where are my beliefs with brain and heart coherence? Well, I like to describe this topic with sharing you what is not brain and heart coherence and how do we get in that state. So anytime we're experiencing a survival instinct, we're living through our survival instincts, we are experiencing a experience in our life that triggers the survival response. What happens in the body? Well, what happens is we primarily are living, experiencing life at the moment through the sympathetic nervous system. This sympathetic nervous system shuts down digestion, beats up our heartbeat, and our urine, all that slows down, and our endocrine system just kind of slows down, and we're just focused on survival. We want to get out of danger. Heart starts pumping, pupils dilate, my energy raises, and all of my energy is in the exterior world, right? There's no importance about digestion. There's nothing has to do with memory, none of that. So your sympathetic nervous system, we like to call it the flight or fight nervous system, the flight or fight instinct. And that's really in a very short, like most simple way, that's what takes you out of brain and heart coherence. Whenever you're out of brain and heart coherence, your system isn't operating at its optimal. If it would be if you need to get out of danger, if you're running, and so forth and so on. And what are the things that can cause this? Well, the sad thing is that in this date and time, it's not a predator, it's not a lion or a bear or our like nature causing this. It can be um, your coworkers at work pushing your negative emotional buttons, right? It could be your own family, it can be your partner pushing your emotional buttons, and that can get you into out of brain and heart coherence. So how is that possible? Well, if your coworkers, your boss, even your family members are pushing your emotional buttons, they are releasing those chemicals. Yeah, it's amazing. We live in such a technologically advanced world, but now the downfall of this, it's so easy to be triggered. I might experience stress if my iPhone isn't charged, if my Wi-Fi isn't connecting, if my Netflix is buffering, that stresses me out. I mean, this is hypothetical, this isn't for me personally, but we can understand, right? This is something general that the population can experience. So what does this mean? Well, those are the things that create those stress hormones that push us from the parasympathetic nervous system that we'll get into shortly into the sympathetic nervous system because we're stressed, we're feeling these hormones. And what else gets us out of brain and heart coherence? Well, any thought, because the size of the neocortex, thought alone can create the stress response or the love response in most terms, oxytocin, and so forth. So what is this? What am I saying? By thought alone creates chemicals. Thought alone, well, thought is the determining factor when we're living unconsciously for the hormones that we feel and that we create, the body creates. Again, thought alone, when living unconsciously, is the determining factor to what hormones are bubbling up inside of us. Why? Because the size of the neocortex. So what is this? How can I exemplify this? Well, let's think about a future worst case scenario. Right now, if a future worst case scenario presents itself to my conscious, then right now I will be stressed, or right now I will be sad. I will have fear right now. Similarly, how to a worst case scenario, a memory of the past, feel of fear, trauma, sadness, I can embody it right now. I can weep, I can cry, I can embody that worst case scenario from the future in the present moment. This is proof that thought alone can create the stress response. So we've talked about all the sympathetic, all the kind of darker side of things, right? Well, what is the parasympathetic? The parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for repair and digest. And this is, where digestion, you're able, you're not, your energy isn't in your exterior world, so it is being pushed around to your body where you need it, where it needs to repair, where there's a lot of inflammation. Inflammation is caused where there's a lot of mucus. Mucus is caused where there's a lot of acidity. So whenever we're in the parasympathetic, our energies are focused into our health and well-being and growth. And there's sufficient medical and scientific evidence to prove the only in pleasant states of being growth is possible. Only in pleasant states of being and learning and capturing this is possible. So this topic is about brain and heart coherence. And there's a lot of things that have to do this. So the next question is, okay, well, I know what's the good side and the bad side. I know I want to primarily be in the parasympathetic. Well, how do I do that? Well, the question is lessening our refractory periods. Your refractory period, well, I'll give you this example. So let's say something happens and you're emotional about it for a couple of days. Well, that's called a mood. And let's say it goes on to a couple of weeks. This now becomes a well, quite frankly, the word has just escaped me, but it becomes a personality trait in the end, right? So we have a mood, and then we have a temperament, and then it becomes a personality. So what does this mean? The goal in life is to lessen your refractory period, to lessen the time it takes you to overcome any scenario. So let's say, we have an adult, your coworker, you see him sad or always upset, you ask him, hey man, what's wrong? Well, my father treated me this way whenever I was little, or I got dumped, I had a divorce a year ago, right? So that is becoming that person's personality trait, because every experience in your external world, every emotion is creates a neural network in your mind. So I get dumped, let's say in 1 week, I'm feeling the same way, I'm all mad and I'm upset. Okay, well, that's just a mood right now, and that mood, this next step, it becomes a temperament, right? So now, it's like a couple months down the road, I'm still upset, I'm still angry at the world. You ask me, hey, what's wrong? Well, I got dumped a couple months ago. Okay, I let this keep going for years on end, and it becomes a personality trait. You ask me what's wrong, I got dumped, and I basically, what we're saying is, consciously, what we're saying is, I haven't gotten over those chemicals, I haven't gotten over these emotions. So the key to life is lessening your refractory period. How do you do this? Well, there's a whole bunch of things. This video isn't how to. This video is to guide you to question, well, how do I do it? Do I want to? This sounds very important, I want to. There's a whole bunch of data. I've been living through the heart for a long time now. I literally have lost track. But after my journey started, I found Dr. Joe Dispenza. A lot of what I have said, I almost might be quoting him, and I want to, make it very clear. I'm no doctor, right? I am someone that lives through the heart, so I experience it. I have the knowledge, the conscious knowledge of how to live through the heart. And Dr. Joe Dispenza is someone who I listen to, as well as Sadhguru. Most of what I have mentioned in this video comes from either of these gentlemen. If you want to know more about, brain and heart coherence, you can look up the science of epigenetics. You can look up the effects of breathing, of meditation, lessening your refractory period, the placebo effect. Sadhguru is one of my biggest mentors. Dr. Joe Dispenza is bridging what is Dr. Joe Dispenza is bridging what is mystical, what I teach, what is living through the heart, and he, being a doctor, he has EEG, brain, and you know, he can test the activity in your brain, and tell us like, yeah, you're living through the heart, you're not. So he has a lot of great information. But the answer for me, what I share is, you got to live through the heart. You got to ignite an elevated emotion. The reason this is fundamental, if you feel good inside, you're already leaning into the parasympathetic, because if you have pleasantness within, it's a lot harder whenever an experience presents itself that you would normally response your response would be stress or fear. Well, you're an elevated emotion, that's who you are, like that's what you're consciously making. And that is how I keep myself in brain and heart coherence. Why and how do I know this? Well, one, you living through the heart, creating an elevated emotion, it's conscious action, and you're observing how you feel. And beyond this, I understand the body is a chemical. It's a chemical instrument. It operates in chemical signals. So my elevated emotion, the brain picks up on these chemical signals and it gives me thoughts. So living this way for an extended amount of time, I've decided to do it my whole life, but living like this, we end up seeing that my thoughts are going to be in correlation to the elevated emotion that I'm creating. And with, practice, you start to, where your attention is, your energy goes. If my attention, my conscious, is on creating love and happiness inside my body that I can consciously feel, then my brain starts to, you know, I start to release the old paradigm. I start creating new neural pathways in reflection to how I feel. So this has been my take on brain and heart coherence, a little bit of the nervous system, a little bit of the science, a little bit of the mystical. I hope it's invited you to ask the questions, the critical questions. How do I get out of the sympathetic nervous system? How do I stay in the parasympathetic nervous system? How do I bring pleasantness, more pleasantness into my body so I can grow, repair, regenerate? These are all important questions that as an adult or as in any age, really, the younger the better, but as a human being, we should know, right? This is my body. It's not your body. It's not your responsibility to make me feel good. It's my responsibility. That's the responsibility that I've taken upon myself to know how to bring pleasantness into myself and organically. I hope this video has been to your liking. Please comment what topics you'd like for me to cover in the future, and also share this video with your family members, mastermind group, friends, and social media accounts. I hope to see you in the side of light. Goodbye.